Hello everyone and welcome to the Week 5 edition of Instant Replay, where I give you my take on the most controversial calls of the weekend. I'm Simon Borg. We start with the wild one in Kansas City between Sporting KC and Philadelphia, and the madness started early with a third-minute own goal. But did the ball cross the line? We freeze frame it here, and given the position of the defender's right leg, that leads me to believe that the ball must have been in. There was some controversy on the momentary equalizer by SKC. You see here goalkeeper Rais Mboli appealing to the ref for a foul after finally making it back to his feet following the Dom Dwyer goal. But there was no foul. We see from this angle that Mboli steps on his own teammate and loses his footing. Good no call. It was 2-1 Union in the 33rd minute when Sporting thought they deserved the penalty. Dwyer goes straight up for a header, but then gets pushed from behind by Feliz Fabinho. I think that's a penalty. Referee Ismael Alfat doesn't call it. But Dwyer just kept on plugging away, and he put the ball in the back of the net twice before the end of the game. Except they didn't count. Just before halftime, this goal was called back for offside, and the freeze frame proves it. Great call by assistant Kevin Klinger. And then in the 59th minute, Dwyer was called for a foul on Union defender Raymond Gaddis. Yes, he has an arm on the player's shoulder, but I don't think it was enough to keep him down. In fact, I don't think Gaddis is even making an attempt to jump. The Union also had a goal called back in this one. It came in the second half, and the freeze frame proves once again assistant Kevin Klinger was right. Assistant Andrew Bigelow was pretty busy in the Colorado-New England match. He raised his flag on Rapids forward Gabi Torres in the 3rd minute. Check out the freeze frame here. And then in the 44th minute. Both great calls. Those weren't that controversial, but this sure was. The play happens in the 58th minute. And there's a lot to process, so we boiled it down for you step by step. First, there's what I think is a handball by Dominique Badji that wasn't called. So the play continues, and there's a foul on Juan Ramirez in the box, which prompts referee Fotis Bazakos to whistle and point to the spot. But then Bazakos sees the flag of assistant Chris Strickland, who noticed that Gabi Torres came back from an offside position to pick up the loose ball. So Bazakos proceeds to speak to his assistant to sort it all out, and he waves off the penalty. Rapids coach Pablo Mastroeni can't believe it, and he's sent off for his protests. And after watching the replays, I think Bazakos will want to have this one back. The penalty infraction, in fact, comes before the offside. The Rapids, who are still the only team in MLS without a goal, were hoping for a penalty on 2 other instances in this match, but they didn't get either one of them. In the 78th minute, the Rapids were claiming handball by Kevin Alston on this cross, but I think it's evident Alston is trying to put his arm behind his back. Good no call for me. Then there was Ramirez going down in the box a minute after the break, and this replay seems to show that Revs left back Chris Tierney does make contact with Ramirez's left leg. Was it enough to bring him down? Probably not. But the same can be argued for the penalty that Charlie Davies earned in minute 54. Jared Watts tugs on the arm, probably not enough to spin Davies all the way around, but that's a veteran forward selling the contact. Bazakos calls it, and Lee Win doubles the Revolution's lead for the 2-0 final. At the Citrus Bowl in Orlando, we saw a clean match from the players and a well-officiated match from Chris Penso and company. Only 2 plays that stood out to me here. First, an arm to the head by DC's Connor Doyle on right back Rafael Ramos. But that seems to me like it's a question of size. Doyle is 7 inches taller, and when he extends his arms, it's face high on Ramos. But size didn't come into play when Doyle came charging in on Ramos 4 minutes earlier in the 73rd minute. In fairness, both players were showing their cleats on that one. Penso calls the foul on Doyle and asks the DC man to chillax, bro. To me, that looked like a similar play to this Andy Rose foul on Luis Garrido in the 17th minute of the Seattle-Houston match. And that earned Rose a yellow card. The Seattle midfielder probably could have gotten a second yellow in the 62nd minute. It looks to me like that was simulation by Rose, but he avoided the red card. No call from referee Ted Unkel. A week ago, Rose was on the receiving end of a red card foul. You remember when referee Kevin Stotts sent off Kellen Acosta for this cleat to the chest? Well, I wonder if that play crossed the mind of Ted Unkel in Seattle on Saturday when he seemingly changed his mind and went from yellow to red card for Gonzalo Pineda for a similar-looking foul on Ricardo Clark. And I agree with the call. If you watch the slow-mo replay, you can see that Pineda looks at Clark a split second before raising his leg into Clark's chest. Uncle got it right for me. That's a red. But Clark probably should have also seen red himself just before the end of the first half. This scissors kick is absolutely brutal, and I think it could have seriously injured Lamar Nagel. Clark only gets a yellow, but it wasn't the only such scissors kick of the weekend. As the clock strikes 31 in Vancouver, you can see, albeit from a distance, a scissors tackle by Pedro Morales on LA's Mika Varinen, which I think was really dangerous, but it doesn't draw a card from referee Baldomero Toledo. I'd put that one in the same category with the Luke Moore foul on Sebastian Jaime. Martin, and Moore wound up getting a suspension from the disciplinary committee. A different tackle, but just as graphic, was this scissors kick by San Jose midfielder Fatai Alashe on RSL's Javi Morales at Avaya Stadium. In my opinion, the Quakes rookie was spared by only getting a yellow. Morales was the hero for RSL and a 1-0 win on this goal of the week candidate, but it all started with a free kick awarded after what I thought was a vicious foul. On the replay, you see Quakes DP Innocent Emehara leading with the forearm into Luke Mulholland's head. That's a red cardable offense for me, but referee Armando Villarreal opts for a yellow. I was surprised not to see more cards in the aftermath of the incident. Check out the mass confrontation by the Quakes. What is that, 6 or 7 Quakes players? They must have thought it was a clean header by Emehara, but they were wrong. The protests from RSL forward Alvaro Saborio were subdued by comparison in the 18th minute when he was hoping he drew a penalty kick. Sabo takes a tumble in the box, but credit defender Clarence Goodson, who gets in front of him and just beats him to the ball. That's a good tackle and a good no-call by Villarreal. The Quakes also wanted a PK in the 58th minute, but I think that's ball to hand on RSL defender Chris Schuler. Purely incidental. He also had Chris Wondolowski charging him from behind, which also might explain the arm movement. No call from Villarreal, and I think he got it right. Moving to Portland, where Liam Ridgewell had to get his nose patched up after an elbow from David Teixeira in the 16th minute. The Dallas forward got a yellow card from referee Ricardo Salazar, but I thought it qualified as serious foul play and deserved harsher punishment. To me, Teixeira is going out of his way to extend that elbow to make contact with the Timbers defender. Ridgewell was also involved in another incident in the 78th minute, as he and Blas Perez were jostling for position ahead of a set piece. Ridgewell ends up going down, but after I watched the replay, it looks to me like it's the Timbers man who's trying to step on Perez's foot. Not once, but twice. Just 4 minutes later, with the game still very much hanging in the balance at 2-1 Timbers, the home side was appealing for a penalty, and I think they may have had a case. That's Portland's Dairon Asprilla with the cross, and it looks like Dallas defender Matt Hedges extends that arm out ever so slightly to make himself big and deflect the ball. It looked like a PK to me, but Salazar says play on. The Timbers won the game 3-1, but they put the ball into the back of the net a total of 4 times. In the 25th minute, it was Maxi Urruti applying the finish, but kudos to assistant referee Frank Anderson, who gets a thumbs up from Salazar for spotting the offside. Except we wouldn't draw it that way. Now that looks much better. This past weekend was one in which we saw a few stomps. There was Robbie Rogers on Stephen Beitashour in Vancouver, and Ricardo Clark on Stefan Fry in Seattle. No yellow card for either of them. That was not the case at Toyota Park, where Warren Craval caught Mikey Stevens in the 5th minute, and the replays are pretty graphic. Stevens had to be subbed out, and Craval got his first yellow of the game from referee Juan Guzman. Craval probably could have gotten a second yellow for this foul in the open field, but he received his marching orders shortly thereafter with this clumsy foul on David Akam in the 67th minute. That second yellow and automatic red wound up being the turning point of the match, and it was a double whammy for Toronto FC because Jeff Loreno had scored the winner from the ensuing free kick. Now, it wouldn't be instant replay if we didn't have a play to review involving the Fire's Quincy Amarikwa. On this one in the 54th minute, we blow it up for you here, it looked to me like Toronto's Josie Altidore misses the ball and clips the player. And we end with a play that just might leave you a bit queasy. It's the 79th minute, and Benoit Cheroux cleans out David Akam with a tackle, which gets ball and a whole lot of man. I say he should have been sent off, but Cheroux doesn't even get a card. That's all we have for this week. For our editor, Abner Seves, I'm Simon Borg. See you next time!